It's all going to zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Warren.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Salvador is an interesting one because I know the president. He's a young guy, and he's been getting this great press that his crime rate's way down, and they're training their criminals. Well, you don't train criminals, okay? You know, maybe every once in a while you get lucky, but you don't. So in El Salvador, murders are down 70%. He's saying, yes, we're teaching. He's different. Most of them just say, well, the United States is stupid, so we're dumping all our criminals there. He does it differently, smart. He goes, we're working with our people that are causing problems and crime. And he's not working with them. He's dumping them in the United States. And their crime rate, their murder rate is down 72%, 73%.
Yeah, welcome to Simple Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. Cover breaking news, culture, and magic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most watched daily Bitcoin-only live show on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. Lots to cover today, specifically with the cold opening. This is the second time, first speech that Trump had after his attempted assassination was at the RNC convention, and he mentioned El Salvador by name. This is the first rally that he's had since the attempted assassination, and once again, he names El Salvador by name. Very strange. He attacks Nayib Bukele. He's basically trying to make the case that the reason that the crime rate is so low is because they're just exporting all these people through the southern border. That's how they're getting them in. And I gotta say, guys, like, I just don't like this. Why don't I like this? Because it's like you have potentially a pro-Bitcoin administration going into power in 2025. President Trump, JD Vance as VP. And of course, you have the Bitcoin country, El Salvador. You would think that they would be working together, but you have Trump here attacking the president of Bitcoin country. Mind you, all the countries around El Salvador, you know, around that area, they're not necessarily doing great either. Like, I think it's like Nicaragua or Guatemala, I forget, but they straight up have like a communist government, right? Not to mention the crime rate out of all these countries. And it seems like Bukele has been the only one to have figured this out. And you have Trump getting in there and attacking the guy. Very strange. Could it be that he's jealous? I mean, that's what Max Kaiser has been saying all weekend. I would say that we're stronger together. I would like to see, you know, the potential, you know, if Trump gets elected, a potential Trump administration working together with the Bukele administration, because, you know, the incentives are aligned. This is very strange. A lot of people are speculating that this is like the art of the deal, that Trump, before, like, part of his negotiation tactics is that he kind of, you know, he craps on his opponents a little bit. Like, remember with Kim Jong-un, like the North Korean leader, he called him the crazy, basically like a fat rocket man. And then, you know, within a month or two, they were shaking hands at the DMZ. So, like, is he using the same, you know, the tools and tactics? I don't know. We'll break that down today. But on the good news side of things, Matt Gaetz, Representative Matt Gaetz, actually went down to El Salvador, and he actually made a video with Nayib Bukele showing that the fact that the reason as to why the crime rate has gone down was because they're locking the gang members who were doing the killings and the crime in prison. And they did a video of that. So shout out to Matt Gaetz for getting that out there. I hope that gets to the Trump campaign. I do not understand why he's attacking El Salvador, why he's attacking the Bitcoin country. Please let us know in the comments what you think. I'm a little perplexed. Like, for me, I just don't understand it. In other news as well, President Joe Biden seems to, he has announced that he is not running for re-election. This news broke on Twitter, out of all places. Twitter actually was the first one by a couple of minutes. I'll show you guys that. This is another theme of the show that we talk about, which is the great disintermediation. First is the great disintermediation of information, mass scale peer-to-peer communications as predicted by the book The Sovereign Individual, and of course what is coming, what is on the verge of beginning, which is the disintermediation of money, which I am extremely bullish about because I think it really does fix a lot of things. But anyways, back to Biden saying that he's not running for re-election. This news was broke on Twitter. And this is why Twitter is the most popular news app at the moment, because it's just a bunch of individuals breaking the media themselves rather than a handful of publishers, intermediaries that it's so obvious have been co-opted for such a long time. Right? Like mainstream media, if the last 5 years have shown, and what social media basically took the veil off, right? But mainstream media they're not really journalists. Like we should call them propagandists because that's really essentially what they are. Also, in other news, Elon Musk, he put on some laser eyes. People are speculating, including Sailor, that of course it has to do with Bitcoin, and there's also hints that he would be making a surprise appearance at the Bitcoin 2024 conference next week. I mean, it's not too crazy to think about, just because Elon Musk has been very pro-freedom lately, specifically what he did with X. He made it a pro-free speech platform as much as he can. Of course, we're fans of Nostr here on Simply Bitcoin. So, but it is very strange. The whole thing, the resignation with Biden and how it happened through Twitter. And that's something that I want to explore today, which is this new way of getting breaking news is taking the world by storm. You have the rise of individual content creators, and I think the world is going to be a much better place for it. Also, something else to keep in mind about Elon Musk specifically is that Tesla is like the third largest Bitcoin holder of some of these companies. They currently hold 9,720 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So it's not so out of the question. But at the moment, it is just speculation. So we have a loaded show for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. I do want to bring up my co-host on stage. Of course, we have Optimus Fields and our guest for today, the one, the only, the Dom Bay. He's got a B over his head, and I'm excited, man, because Dom has been working his butt off with the proof of workforce. Also, shout out to our boy Chris Alamo. I know he's working on that as well. We got Dom on the show today to talk about it because you guys have done an incredible job, and I really want to explore about what the proof of workforce is, why people should care, and what you gentlemen, what the organization has been able to achieve, over these last couple of weeks / months.
Dude, it is so good to be on with y'all. You mentioned, Nico, a ton of big breaking stories, big names, big stars, but I'm always excited to see the biggest star of them all, and that's the Simply Bitcoin audience, which I see ripping on the comments. Good as always. It's always good to be on here, and you talked about some good things off the top, so I'm just excited to be on with y'all once again.
Yeah, well, welcome back. Dom's always welcome on Simply Bitcoin. You become like a regular at this point.
I'm getting close to some good appearances, and I'm building up my Simply Bitcoin street cred. So, step by step, show by show, we get to where we need to be.
You eventually, after you reach episode, I think it's after you reach episode 21, you will have to get a tattoo of Opti and Christy Lagarde together. It's kind of like a rite of passage.
No one's done it yet, but it is a rite of passage.
Yes. So
Done.
I don't know if you're okay with that.
I'm in on that. If I get 21 appearances on here, I'm in on that for sure.
Perfect. Opti will give you a Bitcoin too, so don't worry. It is compensated.
That ain't happening.
But anyways, it's going to be a great show, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to explore a ton of topics, so sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. We have a lot to get through today. Also, starting tomorrow, we'll be live streaming from Nashville, Tennessee. at the Simply Bitcoin Airbnb that we all got. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to rotate some Simply Bitcoin members, hopefully some guests as well. It's going to be a great time. And on, I don't know yet, we haven't been sent the details, but we will be having a Simply Bitcoin takeover of the Bitcoin 2024 news desk. So extremely excited about that. Opti and I are going to be holding it down. We're really awesome. I don't know if that's going to be on Friday or Saturday, but we'll clue you guys on the details, and we'll post the entire coverage on the Simply Bitcoin distribution platforms. Anyways, guys, before we jump into the show, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, and of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. Buy real Bitcoin, enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada and the USA. To get started, all you got to do is you put in your email address. Literally takes, I think, like 2 to 3 minutes to get verified and all that. And off to the races. You can buy automatic self-custody Bitcoin. What does that mean? That means that when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, as soon as the funds clear, they go straight to your self-custody wallet. They don't allow you to keep Bitcoin on the platform. That perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state. Every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn Bitcoin Well points, and you can redeem those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well. And essentially what that is, it's this little small contest, and it gives you an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. So I'm going to do one for you guys right now. Get your Lightning wallets ready. First person to scan the QR code gets the free Satoshis. So 1 coin into the Bitcoin Wishing Well. Bada bing, bada boom. First person to scan the QR code wins 500 sats. If you use the promo code Simply BTC, you get 3 tosses into the Bitcoin Wishing Well when you sign up to bitcoinwell.com today. Guys, support self-custody by default Bitcoin on-ramps, the only one being bitcoinwell.com. All right, everybody, let's get to the numbers. Lots to talk about.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. All right, everybody, I made it incredibly easy for you guys, like always. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, take you directly to the Stampseed website, where of course you can use promo code SIMPLY. You got 15% off. Don't be that person that writes down their seed phrase on paper. Stamp it on titanium. Stampseed.com, promo code SIMPLY. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $66,960. Sats per dollar, 1,493. Block height, 853,406. Blocks to halving, 196,594. Halving estimate March 25th, 2028. Total Lightning Network capacity, 5,101 BTC. Capacity value, 341 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation, 1.5%. Market capitalization, 1.32 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 7.99%. In the grand scheme of things, we are just getting the party started. Anyways, I do want to comment a little bit on President. I played you guys a video in the cold opening. Donald Trump, in his first rally since the attempted assassination, once again focuses on the very small country of El Salvador, specifically on the president. He's saying, he's basically accusing Nayib Bukele of dumping those criminals into the United States. I don't see any data to support that whatsoever. So I don't know what's going on there, but we'll explore that topic on today's episode. So this is what I said. This tweet blew up, so it resonated with people. Not a fan of Trump once again attacking El Salvador and President Bukele using false information. If he wants the vote of Bitcoiners, this is not the way to do it. I went on to say, still voting for Trump, obviously, only due to his pro-Bitcoin policies. I'm a single-issue voter myself, but this needs attention. I don't think his campaign is giving him the right information on this. Then I went on to say, a Trump and Bukele alliance would be so powerful for the movement. It puts Bitcoiners in a tough spot, seeing one attack another. I support both, but the division is unnecessary. Together, we are stronger. Seems like Pierre Richard, VP of Research at Riot, it seems like he agrees. President Trump should host President Bukele at Mar-a-Lago and set up a 2 of 2 multi-sig with him. Send 100 BTC to it as a demonstration of American unity, peace, and diplomacy. I 100% agree with that. Anyways, seems like it was like the timing of this is suspicious. I'll just say that. It's very suspicious. So after that, Matt Gaetz is part of the populist movement of the America First part of the Republican Party, which is, you know, part of Trump's wing of the party. And very shortly after Trump criticized Nayib Bukele, this happened. Matt Gaetz and Nayib Bukele met, which is very strange. And another thing, also, big coincidence, Matt Gaetz addressed exactly what Trump was talking about in the speech. So here's about a 2-minute video of Matt Gaetz touring the prison facilities of El Salvador that houses all the violent gang members. Let's check it out.
I'm Congressman Matt Gaetz from Florida, and I serve on our committees in the Congress that deal with the military and our justice system. The people in the United States of America are very grateful for the state of exception, and we're grateful that CCOT exists so that these criminals are not harming the people of El Salvador or harming the people of the United States. A lot of the people behind me would have found a way to make their way to the United States and harm Americans, and we are grateful to President Bukele and his administration for establishing security and the state of exception, and for all the good work that the people do here to keep everyone else safe. El Salvador is a country on the rise because people are safe and they are hopeful and they will be prosperous and they will grow great families and great churches and great businesses. And all of that is possible because the people here are not committing the murders and committing the rapes and the robberies and all the things that stop a strong country from standing up and fulfilling its great destiny. Well, in past years, I think the United States Congress has been too willing to lump El Salvador in with Honduras and Guatemala on our policies. And we formed the El Salvador caucus because El Salvador deserves its own respect. It deserves its own relationship directly with the United States that isn't colored by what else is going on in Central America or with your neighbors. We think the good ideas in El Salvador actually have legs and can go to other places and help other people be safe and secure and hopeful and prosperous. There's a lot more discipline in this prison than we see in a lot of the prisons in the United States. And there are a lot more murderers here. The people here have been doing a lot of killing. And in the United States, you get a mix in prison of people who've done a variety of things. But this is a concentrated effort to solve what was a terrible problem for the people of El Salvador. And so this is the solution. The solution is to separate the killers from the people who want to grow in their life and do more things for their neighbors and for their country.
So, I mean, very strange, very, very strange. The timing of it, like it was addressed, like Trump said something, and then a representative from the House that is part of the Trump caucus, like part of the whole Make America Great Again wing of the Republican Party, like the next day he's talking with Nayib Bukele about the crime problem and all that stuff. Like, that's a massive coincidence, to say the least. And this is when I ran into CJK's post, which makes sense. This is why I brought up Kim Jong-un of North Korea. But CJK, I think, is an excellent analysis. And he says, dictators meet threats with violence always, like those who took the shot on Donald Trump. Businessmen like those who first formed our union negotiate. Trump is pulling the art of the deal with these Nayib Bukele comments. Before he made history and met with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, he called him out and even name called him the little rocket man. I think Trump is pre-positioning himself to make easy concessions to Bukele on that false information. That allows Trump to be agreeable and progressive when they first meet, allowing Bukele to clear up reality and develop trust with Trump. This puts Trump in the position of power to get what he wants while El Salvador gets their true narrative to the world. Maybe even dollar currency dominance in El Salvador with Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset plays a larger role in USA seeing currency and money work together for good. Later, Trump will applaud Bukele and point to him as an example for other South American nations. A once perceived enemy becomes a friend, an ally, in demonstrating the genius of Trump's BTC promise. Trump works in mysterious ways compared to politicians, and he always likes to work in extremes. It's a powerful tactic that gains and keeps attention. It's the art of the deal. Now, what's really interesting about this post is that it came out before this whole Matt Gaetz photo op and video op, right? So yeah, is this negotiation? Is this, am I reading too much into it? The timing on this, I gotta say, lots of coincidences these last couple weeks, ladies and gentlemen, to say the least. I don't know if I believe that this is a coincidence. Like, this is just, the timing of this is very interesting. So I'm gonna ask Dom for his comments, but what I'm gonna ask him for is to do the comments in Trump's voice.
Well, it comes down to the fact I heard that Bukele started his own coffee. He has his own coffee now. He sent out beans of fire, and I didn't get any beans of fire. And so I had to show him who's boss and let him know. Interesting attack on on Bukele. A couple things real quick. Number one, MS-13 was a cornerstone of Trump's immigration policy in his last term. So I think in looking up and reading articles on how he addressed El Salvador, there's some carryover, I think, that hasn't been updated to reflect the new administration there, et cetera. And I think like you pointed out too, attempts to kind of, in line with Trump's kind of philosophy of the art of the deal, knock down Bukele a little bit. And not saying I agree with the move. I'm just trying to give some rationales to why he would do that. On the positive side, the fact that, in the world of Trump, like backhanded slaps, I think he said some good things. It wasn't like an all-out attack. He said he was a great leader doing a great job and he admires him. So that should give a hint that this is more art of the deal territory, and he's planning actually and working with El Salvador if he gets elected.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, like, don't pay attention to what they say, pay attention to what they do. When you have a MAGA Republican literally meeting with Nayib Bukele the day after the Trump comments, like, it makes me a little, like, okay, something is going on here in the background. Also, shout out to Dom for his incredible impersonation as always. That was one of my favorite shows, man. Dom pulling out all those impersonations was absolutely hilarious. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on this, brother?
Yeah, so like everyone in the chat, at first when we heard the initial soundbite at the RNC, it seemed a little weird. We're like, maybe he made a mistake. What's going on here? Even though he was talking about Bukele and, was saying, oh, they're exporting their criminals to the U.S. When he did it the second time, it's not by accident anymore. I think this is a very deliberate ploy. Exactly what Dom was saying, exactly what CJ was saying, that this is some Trumpism going out. And so, kind of knock down Bukele. But really what we talk about here all the time on the show is like all conversation is good conversation. And I think this is one of those attempts, whether he's doing it consciously or subconsciously, of like shifting the Overton window. At first, I think only in Bitcoin land is El Salvador like a huge news story to us. Like I think every Bitcoiner is like either has heard about Nayib Bukele has heard about Bitcoin country, and it's like a big news story. But for the average person out there, they probably don't even know where El Salvador is on the map. They probably haven't heard about El Salvador in any good light, except for all the gangs and criminals coming out of it. So I do think this is kind of one of those art of the deal things where he's going to, you know, make concessions eventually. But the interesting part about this was the Matt Gaetz video that literally followed the second speech, by like a day or something like that. So it does seem a bit coordinated here. And the most interesting part of that video that I heard was when Matt Gaetz said, you know, Nayib Bukele has implemented a lot of good new ideas that we can also look to and do ourselves, which doesn't necessarily just mean that like lock up criminals. It's, I think, hinting towards the idea of embracing Bitcoin, as we've seen the whole GOP start to shift the rhetoric around embracing Bitcoiners, embracing Bitcoin in America. So I think this is laying groundwork for eventually going towards what we would all hope to do or hope to see as Bitcoiners, like them embrace Bitcoin, embrace the things that Nayib Bukele has done. And, you know, to use Trump's terms, you know, make America great again. Like, this is what we're all here for, whether you're left or right. This is about improving our country. Of course, we're Americans. We live in America. So this is our concern. But it really goes to show that Nayib Bukele is making noise. Like, it's a tiny country. It barely just got on the map because of the Bitcoin law, because of all the things Nayib Bukele has done, because he's literally the most popular president in all of the Americas. I find it hilarious that they're even talking about Nayib Bukele. And I kind of was laughing at the beginning because I didn't see that clip. I heard people talking about it. And like Dom was saying, you know, if you read between the lines, it's kind of hilarious. He was like, he was like, I love Nayib Bukele. He's doing great things, but you know, also he's exporting all his criminals here. Like, I don't like him. And it's just like literally in 30 seconds, he kind of flip flopped on it. So I really do think this is one of those, like what CJ was saying, Kim Jong-un art of the deal, where, you know, you lay kind of the Overton window groundwork of what people think is going on, and then you meet with him, and then you open concessions, and then you really break the Overton window and show that there's some good things going on. So it really feels like it really feels like some kayfabe going on right now. You know, it's just like, oh, I don't like him, and then they're going to come in and be like, look at this, I'm a great leader. So I think this is good for not only Bitcoin in general, but to put Nayib Bukele and El Salvador on the map and show that they're doing great things. 100%. So this is a Bitcoin topic.
100%. All right, everybody, before we move on to the next segment, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor. And of course, guys, I'm talking about the Pleb Party in Nashville. It's coming up literally in like 4 days. You want to get your tickets quickly because they will sell the F out. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Dom, I'm assuming you'll be there.
I'll be there.
Hell
100.
Yeah. Of course. Other confirmed attendees include Larry Lepard, Preston Pish, the entire Simply Bitcoin crew, James Lavish, Robert Breedlove, Mark Moss, Pubby, Tatum Turnup, Adam O'Brien, Dom Bay, and many, many more. Over 1,000 Bitcoiners are expected to attend. The last Pleb Party in Miami was sold out completely, so you wouldn't be able to get tickets at the door. You want to get your tickets now while they're cheap. It's going to be hosted in an amazing rustic automobile factory from 1910 with brick walls and tons of proof of work atmosphere. It's a 12-hour open bar from noon to midnight. That means that the food and drinks are included in the ticket. Noon to midnight, Pleb Party in Nashville, the day before the largest Bitcoin conference coming up this weekend in Nashville. So it's going to be Thursday, July 25th, the day before the start of the Bitcoin conference. You definitely do not want to miss it. So scan the QR code or check the link in the video description. Prices will go up as time goes by. All right, everybody, let's hit the news.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, everybody. So, these last couple of weeks have been absolutely bonkers, right? Assassination attempt. Now Joe Biden basically saying he's not running for re-election next year. All of that, I think, is just fiat politics, fiat madness, late stage fiat. If you guys want to find peace within the chaos and serenity, literally just take self-custody of your Bitcoin, put it in cold storage, and forget about it. And your life will get better. I promise you. So I'm not even going to read this thing. I just don't even think it's worth it. I guess I'll read some of it. But anyways, on Sunday, out of all days, right? Joe Biden said, "My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we've made great progress, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." But yeah, basically he's saying that he will not be seeking re-election, and it's going to be Kamala Harris who will be seeking re-election. Now, I think this is a great opportunity for the Democrats because Bitcoin is inherently bipartisan to one-up the Republicans in a way, one-up Trump and say, you know what, actually, we're not going to be listening to the Elizabeth Warren side of the Democratic Party that's inherently anti-Bitcoin. We're actually going to take, a different approach. Are they going to do that? I don't know. We shall see. I don't think so, though. So why is this happening? Why did the information break on Twitter first versus every other platform? Well, it's what I was saying in the beginning, the opening monologue, what we're living through. This was enabled by information technologies. This was enabled by the internet. What we're witnessing is a very pivotal moment in human history. I call it the great disintermediation, right? So essentially, as human beings, 20, 30, 40 years ago, there was only a handful of media outlets. And over time, what happened is that governments, even in the United States, inevitably co-opted them. So there was an approved narrative. This is how they convinced the American people that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction back in the 2000s. We later found out that information came from the intelligence agencies. This is why certain information before Elon bought Twitter was just completely deplatformed. People were censored. People were banned. This is why this is happening, because governments have been used to operate in an environment where they just are able to control the flows of information. And that is incredibly powerful. Imagine being able to propagandize your entire populace. And what happens with mass scale peer-to-peer communication is that all of a sudden you can no longer control the narrative. That's why you're seeing the rise in popularity of independent content creators. That's why when Tucker was fired from Fox for not towing the official party line, his popularity just continued to rise. This is why Joe Rogan is one of the most popular content creators on the face of the planet. It's very difficult to co-opt, individuals. And if one of those individuals starts lying, if they start basically saying stuff that people don't agree with, people will just tune into another. It creates an opportunity for another independent content creator to kind of fill in that void, right? So this is what's happening. It's called the great disintermediation. So first, what's happening now, what we're living through, it's already happened. I think Elon, buying Twitter, freeing the bird, so to speak, really focusing on freedom of speech, not to mention protocols like Nostr, which I think are just in its infancy. The government no longer has the ability to control the narrative, right? And they hate it. That's why they've tried to, call it misinformation and hate speech and all this bullshit. So this is where we are right now. We're in the thick of it. I think we already won the battle. They're going to continue to try to walk this back, but I think the genie's out of the bottle. You can't walk it back. what is happening next, what we're going to try to prepare you for, and I think the battle is going to be a lot more vicious, is the disintermediation of money. And that's when individuals, remember, talk to your normie friends and you let me know if they probably have heard about Bitcoin. If they're in a Western country, they're like, have you heard about Doge? And they'll talk to you about altcoins and they'll talk about this. Bitcoiners want the separation of money and state. Altcoiners want Lambos. We are not the same, right? Totally different goal here, right? We want the separation of money and state because we believe in the separation of money and state will end the endless wars. We'll make this, we'll just decrease the size of government. We'll increase the freedom of the individual, right? And this battle is just beginning. That's why Bitcoin entered the political sphere, the political discourse this year, right? And that was an opportunity, by the way, that was brought upon by the Democrats for taking such an anti-Bitcoin stance. It's not that Donald Trump likes Bitcoin. It's not that, any of these politicians like Bitcoin. It's that they see an opposing party going after an industry, going after a voter base. And then as a politician, you're like, okay, well, if you're going to disenfranchise all the Bitcoin holders in the country, you guys can vote for me. I'll protect you guys, right? It creates an opportunity. And I think it's a testament to the power of our movement. Bitcoin doesn't need Donald Trump. Donald Trump needs Bitcoin to win, right? And I can't emphasize that enough. That is so powerful. This is another example. This is literally from this morning. The most popular news app right now on the App Store is not CNN. It's not Fox News. It's not look what it is. It's literally Twitter. It's X, right? After that is Reddit. But the point still stands, right? Like paid apps, right? Why? Just like the breaking news is happening on Twitter. Now, check this out. When Biden announced his resignation, on Twitter broke at 1:46 p.m. On CBS, 2:02. NBC, 2:02. ABC News, 2:04. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about the future of media and the future of content. Now, this is where it's important for you guys. Like, what is happening? What is this phenomenon? It's mass scale peer-to-peer communication. Individuals are now the mainstream media. The days of a handful of government co-opted institution breaking the news are over. Authenticity and truth will flourish in the marketplace of ideas and discussion. If you're not authentic, if you're not truthful, that will get smelled out very quickly on the internet. People like authenticity. People are sick and tired of the bullshit, right? Here's Kim.com. I think he has a great take on this. Said Elon Musk enabled the disruption of the corrupt Democratic Party. All it took was free speech. Let this be a lesson to those who think they can lie to us in an industrial scale and censor the truth. We, the people, will put an end to the criminals who are running the world. And I just want to mention something also about the Democratic Party. I don't think the Democratic Party specifically when it comes to the censorship of information and specifically when it comes to having an anti-Bitcoin stance, I don't think they're properly representing their constituents. I think their constituents love the idea of free speech, and I think that they love the idea of Bitcoin, right? So, I hope that, if the Democrats lose in November, it makes them self-reflect and say, you know what, perhaps we shouldn't have an anti-Bitcoin stance. And they still have time, right? The election is about 100 days out. If they want to one-up Trump, all they have to do is say, you know what, we're not going to wait till Trump potentially gets elected to free Ross. We're going to free Ross right now. You know what? We're actually pro Bitcoin as well. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. They made it one. Anyways, moving on to the whole Elon news. Elon, he put on some laser eyes, and a lot of people were speculating that it's relating to Bitcoin. I don't know. But here is Mario Nafal's take on this. He said, I heard last week that he would resign at this exact time and date. It was widespread knowledge in DC. The real powers that B, are discarding the old puppet in favor of one that has a better chance of fooling the public. They fear Trump because he is not a puppet. Anyways, here's Nick Carter. He says it's definitely weird that Biden withdrew via a tweet. We generally don't know if he saw or even authorized it. Everyone knows he doesn't run his Twitter account. Super bizarre. And I think that's another component, another very important thing to talk about, which is authenticity, right? Now that the leader has the ability to communicate to their audience directly, like peer to peer, like just make your voice known. I mean, Trump does this all the time when he posts on Truth Social or when he was on Twitter. Like his tweets were fucking hilarious. Some people found them divisive. Some of them potentially might have started a global war, right? But the point is, though, is that he made his voice heard to his followers, to the people that were listening to him. I think that's a good thing. I think we need more of that. I think having your interns run your Twitter account is unauthentic. And I think we are heading into the era of authenticity because the internet allows that, right? All right, moving on to the speculation of Elon potentially making an appearance. Here, David Bailey also mentioned this as well, by the way. David Bailey is the CEO of Bitcoin Magazine, who is responsible for throwing the Bitcoin 2024 conference. But anyways, it goes on to say Elon Musk's recent change of the profile picture to one featuring laser eyes has sparked speculation that he might attend the upcoming Bitcoin 2024 conference in Nashville. This speculation is further fueled by reports of his private jet landing in Tennessee. The conference, scheduled for July 25th through the 27th, is also expected to feature a speech by former President Donald Trump. The event is generating significant interest and anticipation within the cryptocurrency community, with many speculating on potential announcements or developments related to Bitcoin, right? So moving on to Saylor's take on this. He says laser eyes are back in style. And of course, he's, tweeting it's a screenshot of Elon Musk's recent change. I also want to remind everybody that Tesla, right? If we go back to this list, this is Bitcoin treasuries. It's a great job of just, indicating how much Bitcoin each company holds, specifically from the public companies. I mean, most of these are miners, right? And then at the top, of course, you have Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy. Then you have Marathon Digital Holdings. And then right below that, you have Tesla. So Tesla, a non-Bitcoin related company, is actually the third largest publicly traded company to hold Bitcoin, right? They hold 9,720 Bitcoin, and they've currently almost 2x'd that initial investment. I love how they put lettuce hands because he did sell some of it. But the point, I doubt they're going to sell any of it now. The point is, though, that, is it that crazy? Is it that much of a stretch? David Bailey did say that there are going to be lots of surprises. He did say in his spaces that essentially Nico Bill he did say in his spaces that essentially there was going to be a lot of VIPs at the conference that weren't necessarily announced before. And that they were bringing their security details and all that. So could it be that Elon Musk will be making a surprise appearance at the Bitcoin conference? Maybe. We shall see. But yeah, man, I think all in all, just kind of good news, and it's crazy times to live in. And, as independent content creators, Opti, like, this is crazy, bro. Like, and this is something that we started kind of experiencing in the early days. When we started doing Simply, we were like, wait a second, bro, like, how the fuck are we breaking news faster than CNN? Opti and I would say something, and then a week later, CNN would break the news. And then that started happening over and over and over and over again. And we were like, holy cow. And then that's when I came to the realization that, like, you are now the mainstream media. The individual with the Twitter account, with the camera, with the YouTube channel, with the Rumble, like, you have the ability to leverage the internet to make your voice heard. And you're not co-opted by the government. You're not co-opted by, these large pharmaceutical companies, right? You can speak your mind, right? And of course they absolutely hate it, which is why they're trying to, censor the internet. But, you know, I think that makes the world a much freer place if people are allowed to have free and open discourse. I mean, the way that the original founding fathers, like, this is how they envisioned speech, right? Of course, they didn't plan for the internet, but, you know, the public square now is worldwide, right? And people can make their ideas heard. And I think that's a good thing. I think ideas competing on the marketplace of ideas is a good thing for humanity, not a negative thing. I think that once you start to censor and you start to manipulate the truth and you start to misrepresent the data, history has shown that never ends well. I just recently watched the show. I'm going to pass it on to Dom so he can hit this in his Robert De Niro voice. But I just recently finished watching again this mini series on HBO called Chernobyl, and like throughout, like towards the end of the show, basically they try to cover up one of the defects with the nuclear reactors that led to the meltdown. And it was all to save face. It was all so that the state, the government would save face at the expense of everyone else. Like the official state newspaper of the USSR was called Pravda. If you translate Pravda to English, it means truth, right? So it was like, you know, everything was just flipped on its head, right? I think the world where a handful of elites get to pick and choose what the truth is and what the truth isn't is dated. I think it's a bad thing. And I'm looking forward to a much more open world. Anyways, Robert De Niro, what do you think?
I heard things. I don't know. I saw the press release from Joe, and I heard things. I did hear things. I'm wearing these new platform shoes, 3 inches. I heard things. I don't know. I'm not sure. No, man. Sorry. I got like, oh gosh, something took over. Yeah, it's good. One quick note on the Biden thing, just to consider on how that announcement happened. I think there was an attempt by the Dems to really differentiate Biden, the candidate, from Biden, the president. I think maybe that's why there wasn't the presidential signature, because as you know, there's a lot of scrutiny as to whether he can finish his term, and this announcement is directly tied to that scrutiny. So that's just one piece there. I think X, you know, it's amazing, like you say, this having information decentralized. It's a blessing to have when narratives are so heavily spun up from multiple sides, and in a two-party system that seeks to polarize people. That's to be expected. The only thing that we have to caution and be aware of is with the freedom of information, we have to verify our facts, but we always want to jump to theories so quick. I mean, what was crazy about the Trump assassination was usually, right? I'm old, so conspiracy theories came like years after an event happened. You get video that you never saw or some fact. You had theories literally in real time. For like, I don't know if we've ever seen that, conspiracy theories in real time of an event. And there was hundreds. And so we just have to be cautious with the freedom of information to like not rush to jump to a theory. Let's make our theories quality, not saying to like believe what you see, but verify facts and slowly find, you know, your viewpoint.
100%. I think that's a really, really good point, which is this idea of like, you know, the Spider-Man meme, right? Which is like, with great power comes great responsibility. It's like with this newfound freedom and this newfound ability, you know, that it's a double-edged sword, because you could also, you know, post something on the internet that is completely blatantly false and it has the potential to go viral, and that could potentially do some, and especially with the rise of AI at this moment, right? So yeah, there is, you know, there are pros and cons. I would say that there are more pros than there are cons. But this is why it's so important to tell the truth, why it's so important to remain accurate, you know, because the enemies of this type of of newfound freedom, this is what they're going to say. They're going to say, no, you can't, this is impossible, because how are people going to, verify that this is true? You need official sources. The problem that we find ourselves in, though, is that the official sources have been lying to us as well. So it's like, that's the problem here, is that I don't like, just as Bitcoin, I don't think Bitcoin would have been created if it wasn't for the government shitting the bed. I don't think people would be flocking to Twitter as much as they are if they weren't sick of the official narratives being proven wrong. Like the whole conspiracy theory thing, when it's like, look, the inflation, it's transitory. There will be no inflation. If you talked about that, you were basically deemed, you were othered. Like you're basically saying like, this person is not speaking the truth. And then 6 months later, it turned out to be right. So it's like we confide in our leaders and our political class to tell us the truth. The problem is that they're not telling us the truth. And rather than addressing that, they would rather just censor communications so that they can keep on, basically saying whatever they want to say without accountability. Like, that's essentially the fundamental issue here. And I think this is something that the internet addresses, because on the internet will hold you accountable. If you're not authentic, if you're not truthful on the internet will eat you up, literally, metaphorically. So anyways, Opti, what's your take on this?
Yeah, well, bringing this back to Bitcoin and fiat and all the things we talk about all the time, let's remember what fiat means. Literally, it means by decree. And as we're seeing in the last couple of months, well, really for us Bitcoiners, the last couple of years, is just that all the quote unquote institutions, or, the legacy media, corporate press, they are very clearly propaganda, and they just spew out their narratives, and they don't care whether you believe them or not. That's literally their job, is just to spin narratives. And now we've gotten to a point now where all the stuff we do, not only on, Simply Bitcoin, but everyone out there on Twitter, of just trying to get to the bottom of the truth and doing your own research and, doing your best to not spread fake news and try to get to the bottom of things. It's such a powerful tool that now even the corporate press and the propagandists out there are realizing that they are behind, they're behind the trend here. Like, we get breaking news on Twitter exactly as it's happening, and there's still a seeming trend towards there not being much legitimacy on Twitter. It's like, oh, you guys are just memeing and, you guys are spreading lies on Twitter. But as every one of us knows, we get the news way before everyone else does on corporate press. And then there's a delay between, what we saw right here, 15 minutes to days before these news stories get hit on the corporate press. And this is the power of social media. And we talk about this all the time, that the power of, or rather the ability of the powers that be that can't control or rather manipulate information right now is why they're freaking out. This is why you've seen these movements towards censorship, this idea of, canceling people because they're talking about the truth. So this just proves to me the power of social media. And it really just proves that the institutions, the corporate media wings that we're seeing, or that have a legacy and they have the authority, or rather, quote, authority, they're crumbling in real time. And this is why it's so important to continue to talk about this information. But like Dom was saying, and I was going to say the same thing, there's still a very real concern to watch what you're feeding in, because remember, there's the big boogeyman of the algorithms out there. And I still believe that social media, even though Elon quote unquote freed the bird, I still think there is some manipulation on what is being seen on people's threads, what gets pushed, what doesn't. I don't really have much facts behind this. I think it's just kind of a general vibe that I feel, and my gut feeling that, like, there's still manufactured conversation on the internet. It's just something to be aware of. And this is the importance of going to sources that you can trust, that you've seen put in the work, because the powers that be are crumbling. No, I think not just Bitcoiners, but more people are waking up to the idea that they can't trust the legacy media like they used to. the old days of like trusting Walter Cronkite on television to tell you the truth is no longer where we are right now. We know for a fact that the propagandists, the talking heads on legacy media are lying to you. They're spinning narratives. And it's just very important that more people understand this, because this is how the fiat illusion starts to crumble, is by people waking up to the fact that, hey, just because all of your favorite talking heads are saying the same thing doesn't necessarily mean that that's the real truth. It's manufactured consent. And this is how things work. And then I just want to touch on the last thing on the Elon Musk laser eyes. I personally, I don't think that was even for Bitcoin, but we'll see what happens. I think I've been seeing in normie culture right now that the laser eyes is starting to take on like a life of its own. It definitely started with Bitcoin, and Bitcoiners made it cool, and we're the ones that, you know, propagate the memes, and Bitcoiners have the best memes, and so this is why it starts to get into normie culture. But I think this kind of has more of an angling towards like what the laser eyes kind of mean. It's not, you know, for us Bitcoiners, laser eyes to 100K. I think laser eyes is kind of becoming a meme on its own outside of the Bitcoin space of piercing through the veil and seeing the truth and seeing the light. And I'm thinking that's where Elon's kind of taking it. But hey, we'll see. If he's at the conference this week, then I will, you know, I'll eat my words and be like, okay, he's going back to Bitcoin. We'll see how fickle lettuce hand Elon is on Bitcoin again, if he's going to pump Doge and all that stuff. But overall, the narrative is shifting towards what Bitcoiners have been saying for a long time, and Bitcoiners seem to be ahead of the curve on a lot of things. So again, this is the importance of going out there, talking with your friends and family, tweeting what you believe is the truth, tweeting and reposting what you think is good signal, because this is how more people wake up. People are waking up to the illusion of the fiat system, you know, the by decree system, and they're looking for truth, and that's what Bitcoin is.
100%. Bitcoin is the truth. I think that, there you go. Appreciate the comment. Bitcoin is the truth. It's anchored to the truth via proof of work. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we have lots to talk about still. Let's talk about proof of work force. And let's check out the culture. Here we go.
The Daily Culture.
Everybody, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about the Orange Pill app. Stack friends who stack sats. Guys, join the 11,500 Bitcoiners that are currently on the app right now. The Orange Pill app is the Bitcoin social layer. If you are traveling to a new city, if you're on the go and you want to connect with Bitcoiners near you, the Orange Pill app is for you. It has a really clever geographical feature, so it'll show you the Bitcoiners that are near you. You can connect with them. You can send them a DM directly. Also, if you want to reach me directly, I don't really answer Twitter these days, or my email, you can download the Orange Pill app. You can send me a message on the Orange Pill app, and I will get back to you. So it's probably a good idea to build up that Bitcoiner Rolodex. If you're traveling, if you don't know anybody in your city, download the Orange Pill app. It's the best resource, the #1 tool to connect with fellow Bitcoiners. Also, in Nashville, if you don't know any events, you want to know what the thing to do is that day, pull up the Orange Pill app. It has will show you the events near you, the Bitcoiner events near you. Anyways, I'm excited for this. We got the Dom Bay, we got Robert De Niro, Trump, and Dom in the house today. Talk about proof of workforce. So what's up, dude?
Let me pull up this visual here, because this is a cool visual here, Dom. So I'm going to pull up the Ferris wheel, and then you could take it from here. What are people looking at? What is this news coming out of Santa Monica for the audience out there that isn't following everything closely on Twitter? What are you working on, bro?
Yeah, so the city of Santa Monica approved the first municipal Bitcoin office in the country. Very cool occurrence, and the story arc to get there is very interesting. As you guys know, Santa Monica Firefighters was the first union in the nation to add Bitcoin to the balance sheet. And really, the initiative, what it is, they didn't add Bitcoin to the balance sheet. It's a very education-focused, education-based initiative exploring how can Bitcoin serve the city of Santa Monica, the people, and visitors, residents, etc. So there's an education piece to it. There's looking at ways to attract, businesses and companies building in the space and individuals building in the space. There's a way to expose awesome career opportunities in the space for younger people looking for work and that may not be aware of all these incredible jobs there are in Bitcoin. And last of all, there's also an exploration of any stranded renewable energy in the city to mine Bitcoin itself and see not so much like what that operation would look like out of the gate, but what can be learned about mining Bitcoin at that level. So it's funny you guys had the Orange Pill app on here. Big shout out to Mateo. We had like the speakers that showed up for this were unbelievably incredible. We had a little meetup before, and I think the biggest takeaway from this is we talk a lot about on this show and beyond, kind of the toxic two-party system that we kind of get drawn into, and it's a great reminder to focus attention or don't forget to expend energy locally. We talk about these ideas on what Bitcoin can become, but if we're unable to introduce Bitcoin to our local meetups, to our local organizations, to our local towns and cities, and demonstrate what the potential is, it's hard to go at the national level and go, all right, put the whole country on a Bitcoin standard, but at the same time, I didn't even really look at locally in my own neighborhood to see what I could learn and what could be built, et cetera. So momentous development. I hope that, the Bitcoin community, they've been really supportive of it. It's just a way for a city to look into Bitcoin. And another reminder is organizations, the bigger we go out from an organization to a town, to a city, to a state, to a nation, there's going to be a wider range of interests that we don't agree with. But I think as Bitcoiners, what we can support is people's willingness to look into and explore Bitcoin genuinely, like the core fundamentals and foundations of Bitcoin. And I think that that's something that we can celebrate for anyone that looks into Bitcoin, regardless of whether we align 100% with their total actions and views and all that.
Love it. Love it. So what is part of the education effort that this Bitcoin office will do? Like what are they planning to do here?
Yeah, so the education piece is going to be focused on just teaching people about the network, Bitcoin, the fundamentals. That's residents. It could be staff. The office is going to bring a handful of initiatives back to the city council, but at first we're going to explore certain things. So that could be an educational day with a handful of speakers that teach about the Bitcoin network and start off with like a good educational effort available to residents, et cetera. One of the things that's really important, and we talk about on the show all the time, there are a handful of bad actors and scams and fraudulent people in the space outside of Bitcoin doing other things. And so one of the key points I've always brought to cities or states is, hey, people are going to get involved in this space with or without you. It's prudent in being responsible to teach people what Bitcoin is, because as we know, the more you learn about Bitcoin and understand it, the less gullible you are to frauds and scams. Because talk to a Bitcoiner about some other blockchain idea that they say is decentralized, and a Bitcoiner will be it's easy for them to break that apart and show that this is not what it seems to be. Whereas if you don't have that education, you get caught up in the hype. I don't know, I heard blockchain was the future, this seems good. So education will be at the core. And then looking at different, I always say that Bitcoin can solve so many problems that people aren't willing to kind of consider. And so by inviting builders into the space, it allows them to kind of bring ideas for problems that maybe we didn't even think Bitcoin could offer a solution for.
Love it. Love it. So wait, can
Dude,
people just,
I got to interrupt here for a second.
One quick question. Can people just pull up to the Bitcoin office?
I got to interrupt here for a second, man. Dom, you're fucking awesome, dude. Like what you do, bro, and this whole thing, dude, you are the reason as to why, this type of movement works. Like you're another example of why this whole thing and why we're going to fucking win, because you've used your own expertise right? You're like what you've been focusing on your entire life, and you applied it to Bitcoin, and you've provided value. And of course, as a result, that's provided a ton of value to a ton of other people. And what I want to tell everybody watching the show right now is ask yourself how to get involved. It doesn't matter what your background is. When I'm hearing Dom speak about this, when I first heard about it, I gotta be honest with you, I was like, okay, like let's see what happens. Like Chris Alamo's involved, and then seeing it develop over time, like I'm like, holy shit! Like, and this isn't just Dom doing it. Dom's dope, but this isn't just Dom doing it. It's like every Bitcoiner is progressively fighting for this with using their own expertise to move this movement forward. So this gets me so hyped. And when you guys are listening to this, it sounds cliche, but I'm going to use the line anyways. Don't ask what Bitcoin could do for you. Ask what you can give back to Bitcoin. All right. And Opti, I apologize for literally taking over that, just taking the conversation hostage. But dude, this just gets me so fucking hyped, man. Anyways, I apologize, Opti.
I don't know, Dom, do you want to chime in on that?
Well, I want to say thank you, man, because that means a lot coming from you. And again, we're all building in this space. One of the most beautiful things about Bitcoin is literally that it is for everyone. And it is like people depend on us to find this thing and figure out ways that they can build it. And it's not always easy. We also have to orange pill people that may hate Bitcoin and are trying to kill it. But if we keep pushing to expose them to learning the fundamentals with nothing more than, hey, not telling you to buy Bitcoin, not telling you necessarily to add it to the balance sheet, you'll get there on your own. Like you said, we will win because the system is incredible and it inspires people to want to bring other people on board and encourage them to build and solve problems and do great things. And so I appreciate the kind words. And again, like you said, I'm just a very small little blip. But collectively, I would not want to be betting against the Bitcoin community and builders, especially when we come together on Bitcoin. We get divided sometimes on other stuff and get drawn into this fiat system. But when we come together on Bitcoin, unstoppable force that will do nothing but succeed and win in the years ahead.
Amen. Amen to that, bro.
That's called motherfucking.
And that's exactly why it's called proof of workforce.
Hey, Dom. So before Nico so rudely cut me off, can people just roll up to the Bitcoin office? Like if you're in Santa Monica, is it like an actual office that people can pull up to? Or is it more of like a place that people are going to work out of?
It's a virtual office, so there's no physical location. It's more of a place for coordination of efforts and things like that to kind of like catch different ideas and things that may come together. So it's a coordination office. Sure, there'll be meetups and things in different physical places. The outreach has been incredible, as you guys can imagine, from Bitcoiners who say, hey, I live in the area. So excited to see this. I would love to help. This is going to be a team lift. Again, we've seen top-down things happen in the world, and we've learned that top-down efforts have value. But bottom-up efforts last much longer, and they also bear more fruit, in my opinion. So this office will very much, whatever happens from here, whether Santa Monica moves forward or not, will be a collective, unifying community engagement process where if the city is going to move forward on various initiatives in Bitcoin, it'll be together because we know Bitcoin still has challenges and ups and downs and big tests. And the hardest of tests are only overcomable collectively as a group, especially when you get to the level of like city level adoption, state level adoption, nation level adoption.
Love it. Love it. Okay, Dom, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but when I saw this, I thought this was Photoshopped. This actually happened. There was actually a Bitcoin logo on the Ferris wheel.
Yeah. So, in a celebration and just showing love for Bitcoin, the community, all the people building. There was an opportunity after this, measure passed to put the Bitcoin logo on the Ferris wheel on the Santa Monica Pier. And so that's what happened the day after, at night. The Bitcoin logo was on the Ferris wheel for about 4 to 5 hours. And it was pretty
Amazing.
Yeah, it was a moment, as you can imagine. There's so many, factors that came into play, but I'm so excited for the city willing to take a look. I give tremendous kudos to the council, the staff who has to sit in these positions, as you know, and face criticism or whatever may come, just to take a look. Imagine something so powerful that there's criticism just to say we're going to learn about this thing. Not The story wasn't we're going to add it to the balance sheet. It's that we're going to learn about the Bitcoin network and see what it can offer our city. And the fact that, there's been attempts in mainstream media to paint a negative picture of Bitcoin. It's evident by just the reaction, where if I went to the state of California and said, pass an initiative right now to learn about Bitcoin, there'd be career risk and fear just to learn about it. And that tells you that the negative opinion for the last 10 years on Bitcoin is tremendously lopsided towards unreasonable, because normally if it was more neutral, you'd say, fine, learn about it. Like, this is a no cost item. There's no dollars expended in this. So, yeah, that was really cool on the Ferris wheel. Who knows if we'll ever be able to do that again? It's a pretty rare thing, but that was a shout out to all the Bitcoiners out there that are building and sacrificing every day to try to help people find Bitcoin and learn about it.
Hell yeah,
Love
man.
it, bro.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
Love it. Okay, let's pivot a little bit, Dom, to just general, what is proof of workforce, and maybe some sneak peeks. What else you got in the lineup? What's coming down the pipeline for proof of workforce?
Yeah, so I've been lucky enough for y'all to have me on the show. Proof of workforce started from, as Nico mentioned, my background came from helping workers, and I did union work for the firefighters. And when I was kind of finishing that, I came to the spot where do Bitcoin and workers and wage earners intersect? And the Santa Monica firefighters became the first union to add Bitcoin to the balance sheet in self-custody. I will tell you, they started from self-custody, and every union ever that's followed after starts with self-custody, because it's important to start with self-custody. And so the mission of proof of workforce is simple. We don't want to see Bitcoin win, but have wage earners and everyday workers be left behind. I don't consider that a win. I think you all feel the same. If corporate America or Wall Street owns massive amounts of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's to the moon, and we're all celebrating, but everyday people are still struggling, seeing their purchasing power diminished in a retirement crisis. We don't want that to happen. So proof of workforce, the mission is to help workers, workforce organizations, unions, pension funds, municipalities find and learn about Bitcoin as soon as possible. So we're a 501c4. We have no overhead, as far as we don't have any salaried people. We just do everything that we do goes towards the mission of getting people to learn about Bitcoin. And yeah, I mean, we have a lot on our plate right now. I think we've done a great job in having the first union to add Bitcoin to the balance sheet. We had the Wisconsin Pension Board of Trustees on the Nakamoto Gauntlet, which Nico was a part of that show. And that, I'm not saying that we were the reason Wisconsin added Bitcoin to the balance sheet.
You guys totally were.
Well, I'm proud to say we played a little role in hopefully helping that effort. So that was the first top 10 pension to add Bitcoin to the balance sheet. Now there's the first municipality to found a Bitcoin office. We're going to keep pushing for first. We can't do it without you all. So support in the forms of any form, spreading the word. There's been tons of people that have reached out to say they want to help volunteer with the nonprofit. Again, this is a team lift. We can't do it alone. So lots of cool stuff in the pipeline. And just know, proof of workforce does not stop working ever. We grind nonstop, and we will help people find Bitcoin and continue to push first in the space.
Let's go, bro. Absolutely
Beautiful.
love it. Well, kudos to all the work you're doing. But last message, Dom. What's the final 2 sats you want to leave with the message, with the audience? It could be about proof of workforce. It could be about grassroots. It could be about Bitcoin. It could be about life. What's the last final message you want to leave with everyone, Dom?
My last final message ahead of what's going to be an epic week where I hope to see a bunch of y'all in Nashville is don't forget to build locally with Bitcoin. The name of the game is the same. Your organization, your church, your union, your soccer club, whatever your group is, they depend on you to find Bitcoin and help learn how to navigate Bitcoin and incorporate it into their goals and their life and you know what they're working on. So don't forget about that. And then there's great stuff happening at the national level. I don't diminish efforts at the national level or state level, but don't get drawn into the division that is built into the polarizing two-party system. It is okay. It's okay to support a group or person or politician or country doing something with Bitcoin and also say, I don't agree with all these other things they're doing. I simply support their efforts in Bitcoin. It's okay to do that and not unleash the venom on everything. Like I say, save your venom for when the bite needs to count. And in the meantime, celebrate people's willingness to look into Bitcoin, and don't feel like just because someone gets into Bitcoin means they have to align with every viewpoint that you may have in the world. Otherwise, they're bad. We got to think bigger than that. So that's my message, and just keep working, y'all. Like we have the best community on the planet in any space of any kind of industry in the world, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Bars, dude. Love it. Great message.
Yeah, bro. And great message. And honestly, Dom, I'm totally honored to be in the trenches with you, my friend. So, you know, this is absolutely awesome. And what you have done, what Proof of Workforce has done is just absolutely incredible. And just honestly, it's inspirational for kind of anyone just looking in. And I do got to say, you know, you and Hoffa were the talent on that day's show. But as the producer of the Nakamoto Gauntlet show, I could definitely say that Wisconsin, without a shadow of a doubt, you know, bought Bitcoin because of that show. Yeah.
Wait, sorry. Before we wrap this up completely, Dom, we did get a good question on Rumble, and it says, Dom, do you have a go-to presentation that you would take to a city to get them up to speed quickly, and then we'll wrap up today's show?
Yeah, we're working. You know, it was such a dynamic process when I first when the firefighters got on board. I built like a write-up on, and this is on my Substack, which anyone can subscribe to. It's basically was like a blueprint to orange pilling your organization. I'm working on making that more streamlined so anyone can go get it and then bring it to their organization. We don't have one yet on the city because this process was like so intense and just occurred, and we're still learning right now. But I have had a lot of cities reach out to say, hey, so-and-so, you know, I'm in this city. I want to do something similar. And everything we do is open source. And so I do promise that we will create a kind of like how this came to be, the steps, you know, how to organize speakers, how to get something on an agenda for sure, so people can bring similar things. I think the engagement is great in local politics. Like, y'all, like, take a look. It's an area where the toxicity of like the national stuff isn't fully overbearing. So there's a lot of fun to be had locally. It doesn't catch as much of a headline as like the nation adds Bitcoin to the balance sheet, but man, you can do some creative, fun stuff. And of course, anyone that wants to do something in the city, reach out to me. I will always expend my time to help give a breakdown on an email or phone call to someone that's trying to bring an initiative locally for Bitcoin.
Love it, bro. Love it. All right. Plug your socials and all that stuff where people can find you, and then we'll wrap up today's show.
Yeah, workforce at workforce BTC is proof of workforce on X. Baywatch 1, help me beat any of the imposters that may be trying to, do whatever BS is on there because they block me. Then I'm going to be presenting at the Bitcoin conference on a Genesis stage bright and early at 10 a.m. Unless David Bailey puts me in a broom closet because they got bigger people, but I'll present there too. We'll stack the broom closet. So any support there on the stage, I'll just be giving an overview, and yeah, y'all can find me there. And man, I'm grateful for y'all having me on the show, and I love your audience. You guys have a great audience, and I can't wait to connect with y'all in Nashville.
Appreciate it, Dom. It's always an honor to have you on the show. I'm so glad that Proof of Workforce is working. It's an incredible contribution to our movement and to what we're doing. And like I said earlier, man, it's an honor to be in the trenches with you, and extremely hyped to be with, get to hang out with you in Nashville. Have you shown people your boots?
Ooh. All right, y'all.
Look
We
at
ready
that.
for the Nash. These were gifted because I covered someone's shift. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of texture that is.
I don't know the legalities of you telling us what they are, so
I
let's
don't
not
know
do that.
I don't know what the boots are. They were gifted. They're very. We'll examine them in Nashville, and yeah, that's going to be a blast. I'll be running usually I run the Michael J. Fox cowboy. It's just like a fake cowboy, like Back to the Future Part 3 style with the Jordans, but I have real cowboy boots now. So yeah, incredible. It'll be fun to hang out with y'all. And hey, like Nico, Opti, I appreciate the kind words, man. Y'all spoil me with love. And I'm honored to be in the trenches with y'all. And we just build on the last block and we build the next block. That's all we do. So
and this is exactly why we're going to win.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. This was the Simply Bitcoin live show for July 22nd, 2024. I'm your host, Nico, my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields, and of course, our guest for the day, Dom Bay. We will be streaming live from Nashville, Tennessee for the rest of the week. The Friday show, we'll keep you guys posted. We might be on duty at the Bitcoin conference. We might not be. We don't know yet, but we'll keep you guys posted. But from Tuesday, Thursday, we will be streaming live from our Airbnb in Nashville, and potentially at the Pleb Party, we might be streaming there as well on Thursday. So we'll keep you guys in the loop. We're incredibly excited. And for anyone who's going to Nashville, really, really looking forward to meeting you in the flesh. Stop by, say hi, to me and Opti and the rest of the Simply Bitcoin crew. Anyways, guys, until then, we love you all. We appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed the show, smash the like button, consider subscribing. We're Simply Bitcoin, and we'll see you tomorrow.
This episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, on a mission to enable independence.